And I found that inspirational. And so actually what happened, I came back from Edinburgh last year, buzzing and popping with ideas. And this is a wonderful example of life imitating art. I had this idea where a lot of wrestling in general is puns, right? In terms of wrestler names, events, all those kinds of things. And then we try and take it to the next level. So I just had this thought just popped in my head and we got to do this. Pay-per-view. Right, pay-per-view. And if we scroll, there's a little video. If we scroll up a little bit, we met a guy who we were just walking about in our outfit, who ran a churros van.
I love churros.
And maybe we passed him. Come back down again. Come back down.
I had churros yesterday at the Great North Run.
And he, how are you feeling from that as well?
I didn't do it in the end.
Okay.
I took somebody across who was doing it, and I cheered some people on.
Yeah. I think the churros might be on the.
And then we got stuck in the flood on the way out.
If we go back to the folder I shared, the churros videos on there.
Oh, see.
Champ versus churros. Yeah.
Right, okay.
So we can do the sound on this as well. So
Ant's come bringing his own content. Yeah. This is brilliant.
So we walked past. We were out flying and promoting for the Edinburgh Fringe, and that's one of the things we realised when we were up there last year for the first time, is that if you're just listening to this, I am a. Find the pause.
Why is it not?
Pop up in the bottom corner. Get rid of that.
Spacebar. The hell's happening?
Yeah, there we go.
Get rid of that one in the bottom corner. It's probably behind there.
Yeah. What? It's because you're in Google Drive. Hit the close, and then you can go back to
there. You go.
Yeah. And drop the volume down. So hold that for a second. So very quickly we realised on the first day of doing promoting and flyering and having spent the minimum order of 2,000 flyers, which is not the most environmental thing, especially when there's a bin strike on. We got these flyers, we went out, and very quickly we realised that most of the people who are out flyering were middle-aged white men saying, do you want to see some comedy? And the variation on that was Irish comedians. That was it. And so suddenly we were like, okay.
We've got to do something different.
Yeah, and there's just thousands of people around, and they've already got armsfuls of flyers because everyone's out doing the same thing. Now, one of the things is we have quite a visual element to the show because when I'm in character, there's quite a great costume that we've collated and put together.
You attract attention.
And so what we did instead of doing the traditional flyering was we didn't flyer, which sounds counterproductive, but stick with me. So what we did was every day before the show, we did a ring walk, but the ring walk was around Edinburgh. And so I would just walk ahead, and then behind me, Damien would be there in his pink sparkly jacket, and we had a referee. And I didn't flyer anyone. I did not flyer anyone. But anybody that high-fived me, took a photograph, fist bumped me, had a little laugh, whatever, we would then flyer them.
Yeah.
And that was a really effective way of doing it because every day we were getting 3 or 4 or 5 people would come to the show because they'd seen us out and about.
Yeah.
And they'd have this kind of interaction with us. Occasionally it went too far. We'd just been moved along by some security because I'd been stood up on a plinth and they were like, no, because other people do this. But everyone had been around taking my picture and that. And we came by Waverley Station, which is the main station in Edinburgh, and walked into this little open-air cafe area. And the security guard, stopped me and said something. And at first I was like, he's moving. We've not even gone in and he's moving us on. And then he said something, and I was like, what did he say? And he said, you're on my path. And I went, oh, you want this? Because I've got the belt on and everything. He says, oh, so you want this? And I went, that belt is mine. I said, well, if you want it, why don't you come for it right now? Right? And then we just threw down in this cafe. There is a video of this somewhere. But basically what happened was, because it wasn't prepared. We didn't know if this guy was a raging psychopath or like just somebody having a laugh or whatever. We literally just bumped into him. And he was working. He takes his earpiece out, takes his radio off, right? And then just dives for me like that. So I have him in a headlock. I'm like elbowing him like that. And then he throws me right, bump into Damien. Damien drops the camera. So the video stops there. But then what happens is, I think that's quite cool. That's quite funny. Everyone's laughing and clapping. And then he comes and he drop kicks me, right? So I go back on the floor. Then he comes over and pins me. Some bloke who's just there in Edinburgh with his girlfriend He's having a pint. As he pins me, the guy puts his pint down, slides over, and does the 3 count. And the thing was, like, there may be video out of that. That's an appeal. I'm doing put that out right now. Get in touch with the show. Get in touch with us if you happen to be there and film that. But it was just beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. On the other end of the scale, we had this on the other side of Waverley. A couple of days later, we saw this guy with a beard who clocked me and was obviously a wrestling fan, and he was about my size. And I just walked up to him, squared up to him, and like gave him like a lot of trash talk. And I was like, I told you if I ever saw you in my town, all this kind of stuff. And he was giving it back loads. And we're getting really into it. And I'm just fully aware, like, I become the character. I'm in this. And we had this idea that everybody that we would see in the street was somebody that he'd fought. This was the idea. So maybe no matter how old they were or how you know,
littered with former foes.
Yeah. And so so I was basically squaring up to this guy, and I'm like centimeters from his face. This is not long after COVID, so probably not a really good idea. And then I just hear this voice as we're giving it loads like going, "Is this a performance?" Yeah. And I went, "No, but you want to see a performance? Wait till you see what I do to his face." Right? And that was a police officer. who had seen us and thought something suspicious was going on, and then I just had Damien coming over going, no, it is, it's a show, so yes, I did nearly get arrested for doing that. And then what happened with this little Churros video, which is, I mean, it's a great video, but what happens next is even more incredible. But the video is basically, we walked past, we were doing this flying, you can see me in the sparkly pigeon, the glittery pigeon as we call
Sparkly pigeon.
And it's like silver fish scale cloak that I wear. I've got my gold tights on, the champ t-shirt, the headband, and of course the hair that gives me the title, the Mick Hucknall of wrestling. And we'd walk past. This guy was running this Churros van. He said, "I love your outfit. What's your show? Give us some flyers and I'll put them out for you." I was like, "Oh, brilliant, yeah." And I said, "Thanks very much. That's great." He says, do you want some ice cream, some churros, anything like that?" I know, yeah. And then he gave it us for free. And I was like, "Mate, you're doing us a favour. At least let us buy it." He said, No. Like,
wow.
And so he really looked after us. And then so we'd see him throughout the sort of couple of days that we were up there. And then we saw him more and more. And this guy was just like hairdresser by trade. During the event, he helps out and does this show, a bit of extra money. And he says, "You know what? I've been working here since I've always wanted to beat someone with churros." And I went, "Mate, we can make that happen.
I am the man for that."
So what we did was we set it up very basically in that we slipped him a luchador mask, and then and then what happened was we slipped him this luchador mask, and then we said give him a 2-minute warning. He got one of his crew to come out and film. Damien came up to film as well. And then I arrive on the scene and chaos ensues, which we can see now on the video.
Of course it's a luchador mask.
That's awesome. There he is. Look at him.
What? I told you if I ever saw you in my town again, I would make you pay. Come now, and the time to say, do this now.
The whole thing's spelled out now.
Okay, people.
That is brilliant.
Yeah, so that was we did that on the last day that we were in Edinburgh, and we just set that up and we filmed it, and then we came back, and this is where it starts to get cool and then weird. So we then launched our new season of the podcast, season 4, and the first episode was Churros. So this is how much thought we'd give it him. He was called Churros, and the first episode of the season was kind of based on the another Michael Jackson documentary after he died. And
This is it.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
So they put it together from the footage.
Rehearsal footage and interviews and stuff like that.
exactly.
Yeah.
So this was the idea. So this was back in the day, and before there was a podcast, but there was these little bits of CCTV footage and these things that we put the show together.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was when the champ had been in a tag team with this luchador called Churros, but they'd fallen out, and so it was the backstory
It's
to
the
this
classic,
video.
isn't it? Yeah.
So we basically wrote a backstory to this video, and this is when I had one of my moments of inspiration, and I went, pay-per-view, right? Instead of pay-per-view, pay-per-view, right? So you pay a pie to watch the fight. Right? And then we took it a stage further, and so what happened, this particular event, instead of being in a steel cage, it was in the cavey of gravy. We actually made an arena out of pastry and filled it with gravy.
Nice.
And then we fight in this thing, and we fall out, and it ends up that the luchador Churros turns on him. Anyway, fast forward almost a year to the day. Having done Edinburgh this year, we find ourselves being invited to compete in the World Gravy Wrestling Championships.
Yeah.
So we turn up in character as the champ, and they don't really know who I am, but they've paired me up, and the guy they've paired me up with is a luchador, right? And so fighting him in gravy, and it's only like a couple of days afterwards when I'm looking at the footage that it suddenly dawns on me that it's the ultimate case of life imitating art,
Yeah.
right? So or I am a master manifester, which means if that is the case, this time next year I will be in the new Doctor Who.
There you go. Yeah.
So based on the episode we just put out, so
That's awesome.